Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rowntree Gardens podcast. My name is Elias Rodriguez and I'll be your host. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Faye. She's a very interesting woman who was a trailblazer doing things that women weren't doing at the time. She opened up her own business, was in accounting, had international clients, and has enough stories to be able to talk to you for hours and hours. All of those experiences wrapped up into one give her a unique perspective on a lot of things and is able to basically relate to whatever topic that you might have or want to discuss. So without further ado, here's Faye. So, Faye, thank you so much for coming and joining me today.
Thank you for your invitation. I appreciate that.
Of course. So, do you know what a podcast is?
Well, I think so. Yes, I've listened to a few of them.
Not a lot of people have. So, have you listened to this podcast before?
Yes, I have, and I heard that thing about good.
Oh, you saw my video that I sent you?
Yes, that was the one. Everything's good. Didn't matter what tragedy was happening, it was good. So I'm going around doing the same thing. If it's a bad day, it's good.
I'm glad you like my motivational videos. Sometimes it's a little bit intense, so I'm glad you appreciate it.
I think at this particular time of the year, we all need motivational topics or whatever that can lift our spirits a little bit.
Have you experienced anything quite like this before where everything just seems upside down?
Never has anyone. I wasn't alive when the flu clinic was on, but I was certainly alive when the tuberculosis was coming in. My cousin ended up, and polio. That was a huge scare, including the president and everyone. And I remember that in those days we had what was called the March of Dimes, and we go to the movie theaters and we put dimes. We'd pass a can up and down the aisle and get dimes.
No kidding.
Well, they asked me to be chairman. Well, here I am. I didn't know how to say no, of course. So, and it was Oklahoma City. So I thought, what am I going to do now that I've said yes? Oh, I got it. I went to the schools and I asked the homeroom mothers. You know, there's a homeroom mother for every grade in those days. And they're the ones that helped me pass the cans in the movie theaters.
No
So
kidding.
we collected quite a bit of money. Yeah.
Really?
And
what was the money for?
For polio,
Like
for a vaccine for polio.
I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. And that was a great day when we found that.
Do you feel like everyone felt kind of united and together during that time?
Absolutely. I've never seen the devices we have going on right now.
So this is a little bit of a contrast, right? Where it seems like we're not totally together and we're not totally apart. It seems a little different than some of the other, tragedies we've had with diseases in the past.
And I think we approach each other a little differently, in my humble opinion. And tuberculosis, I think I said that already. My cousin was in tuberculosis sanatorium, and that's before they found a help for that, like antibiotics. And whooping cough, went through that one. Scarlet fever was a big one.
Wow.
I know I had it.
Okay. Well, I remember as we're going back a little bit in time in history, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you and finding out that you're incredibly interesting. And some of the things that I find very interesting are that you kind of made your own path at a time when that path may not have been available to you. So can you let everyone know exactly what I'm talking about?
Okay. Well, I think each of us should follow our own path. If you like what you're doing, chances are other people will like it also. And I couldn't learn Greg's shorthand, nor could I learn typing. But after I was out of the university, I still couldn't get a job, of course, at my age. I didn't want to teach and I didn't want to be a nurse. So I went to Columbus School of Business. I fell in love with accounting, spreadsheets, all the various, we didn't have computers back in those days, but we had like a Monroe calculator, Frieden calculator, Burroughs. We had different types of calculators. And we had to use a burrs to divide on. It was crazy making, but it was fun. And I knew that was my path, but now how to break into it was going to be the next thing. So that was a little bit difficult. And then I decided I had to best sit and get my green card. That if you have a green card, they're really not green. It's what we call it. That's so that you can practice for the Internal Revenue. And I thought I absolutely had to have that.
Wait, so a green card is something
Well,
you
we
need?
call it a green card. It's a treasury card, really. But you
Oh.
take a 2-day exam. It's even more difficult than the CPA test was.
Whoa.
And yeah,
I've never heard of that before.
yeah. And so I was 14937, my card number. And that meant that there were less than 15,000 dead or alive when I got mine.
Wow.
And I don't even remember how I heard about it. I just knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Huh.
And same thing that when I opened my office, I was tired of the corporate world. I didn't like the sniping, snipping. So I thought I'd open up for a hobby. And within 5 years, I had 1,100 clients and several employees.
1,100 clients.
1,100 clients. Of course, my office is in Manhattan Beach,
So
and I was in an accounting office there.
That's amazing. How old were you at this time?
40.
40. And
40 when I opened my office, 39, 40.
and what year was this?
1972.
And
I can't remember what 71. I wrote 72 tax returns, but anyway, yeah, because you're always a year late.
and
I
how
think
many other women were in your field competing
none,
with you?
zero. I've never met one yet. And even though we have what's called CPE, continuing professional education, we're supposed to get 30 hours, but that's never enough with all the tax law changes. And at any rate, I was born with a great amount of curiosity and a thirst for knowledge. So every year until 20, you know how old I am now, every year I've gone to school taking some type of course for something, either in my own field or another field. And I wanted to have some musical or some artistic about me. They don't work. I don't have it. So,
You're a numbers person.
well, whatever I am, it seems like it
And so at
sticks out
40
that
years
way.
old, you opened up your shop in Manhattan Beach, kind
Yeah.
of just hoping that something would happen for a hobby, and 1,100 clients. How did they hear about you?
Well, Manhattan Beach was a small town that day, and then I was in a bowling league and was active in Maricosta High School. And I don't know how people remember me. I don't think it's always necessarily good, but, but I liked what I was doing. That was what was critical. I really and truly enjoyed helping people pay the least amount of tax dollars they could. There is not a patriotic duty to pay more taxes than you owe. And the IRS code is the same for everyone. It's just better that I was determined to learn it better than anyone else.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you learn all the ways, see, the same thing is available to you as it is for the corporations or the big people or oligarchs, the wealthy people. So I figured, okay, I can figure out this out. And that's what I did. And I'm not being braggadocious, just that my curiosity and again and studying, and as long as I'm going to be in the field, I might as well. And then too, I'm a female, so that means I have to, I had to work hard to have as much knowledge I had, and I never ever got smart about it. And when the men would say a nasty joke to me or something, I just didn't hear it. I just pretend to walk on down the road. You know what I
Keep
mean?
on
Don't let
going.
them get to you. That's what I always said.
And you proved them the way you did it by having so many clients. And they had word of mouth, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, I never advertised a day in my life.
Wow.
Well, it was sort of an accident how life happens, and I think you not only have to be good, you have to have some luck. And they were having what they call a young realtors meeting there in Manhattan Beach or Redondo, all the South Bay, Palos Verdes, Redondo, Manhattan, Hermosa, and it was all women there. In this, I'm sorry, all men were on the panel, and this one lady said, "60% of the realtors are women, and you don't have a single woman on that panel." And of course, they invited me, and I mean, like, what? Yeah, I'll go. Uh, so they didn't. They sort of ignored me for a while, and then, of course, an IRS, our tax subject, come up. Well, we believe we'll just turn this one over to Mrs. Cummings. Well, fine, thank you, I will. So I just leaned back in my chair and I said, I'm not going to bore you, but I'm going to tell you how audits are selected. And I started explaining to them the DIF score, and that if you inquire, every year what they're going to audit, whether they mortuaries or rentals or lawyers or whatever. So when I arrived back at my office, my receptionist, what did you say up there? And of course, I was mortified. Did I get ahead of myself or what? She said, the phone has not stopped ringing. You do not have another single appointment until after April 15th. So, see, you have to be lucky. But once you're lucky, you have to know what you're doing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I was quite, sometimes I thought the tail was wagging the dog, but I'm grateful for the experience. The people that I met were really windows to the world for me.
Hang on one second, Faye. I'm going to check.
Okay.
So you said the people that you met,
The people, yeah, you learn so much from all of them. And each
but you
of
said the
them,
people you met are windows. What was
windows to the world. Yeah.
windows to the world? What does that mean?
Well, you learn so much. For example, I'm going back in early 70s, and a gentleman came in and he told me his profession. And I said, "Oh, you're in computers." And he looked at me and looked kind of down his nose. He said, "No, I'm in robots." Oh,
Don't get them mixed up.
no. Another time, a gentleman come in and he said, he was a doctor, and I've been marrying his wife. And he said he's going to Tahiti, I think it was, or someplace. And he's going to study AIDS. And I said, "Oh, he's going, no, he's not going to study AIDS. He's going to go down there to aid people." And I said, "AIDS? Oh, well, he's going down to help them, right?" "No, he's going down there to study AIDS, HIV."
Whoa.
And that's the
Very
first time I heard
different.
about that. That's the early 70s.
Wow.
So it's so many times that I would learn things from other people.
Right there doing taxes.
Right. Well, I always took the time to interview them. It was never with me just putting my head down and running a calculator or taking their information. You get to know them personally, and it meant a lot to me that they cared. Well, I think I told you a lady came here to see me not too long ago, and she said, "We've been together 46 years," which is astonishing, and all by preparing her tax return. And she
Wow.
came here through China, through Hong Kong, into Berkeley University, and stayed here. Yeah. And well, anyway, it's been a very fascinating world. And through her, I ended up with a lot of the Chinese clients, Taiwan, Beijing, Hong Kong.
International clients?
Oh yeah, I have several of them. At any rate, that was a referral. And when she started explaining a lot of things to me, I learned a lot about the Chinese culture. I also traveled with her over quite a bit over China, and it's a beautiful country.
Wait, so you went to China
Several
because
times. Yeah.
really?
Well,
Through your work?
I visited a client in Beijing, more than one. I had several there. I also had a client in Shanghai. I really liked that city. And then I had a client in Hong Kong, and I would just go around
So
and
your
then
little
Taiwan.
office in Manhattan Beach
Yeah.
got you to travel across the world, across the ocean?
I'm sorry, what?
Your little office got you to travel all the way to Asia?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And so what did you do when you were there?
Well, first of all, I'd visit with a client, and I'd talk with them. And I had some incredible experiences there. One of them embarrassed me to death because I always felt like I was a little country girl. And I was in Hong Kong. And I better back up and tell you this whole story because it won't make sense otherwise.
Okay.
Anne had referred this gentleman into me because he had, I didn't know who he was, but he couldn't get his refund back from the IRS. So she came over and asked me if I'd work on it. And I said, sure. Well, I got his refund back. That's not a big thing. I worked with the IRS. You really have to know which center you have to go to. You know, they're all over the United States, with not just Fresno. You got Brookhurst, New York. You have to learn which service center you want to get to. So, I was getting ready to go to China, to Hong Kong, but not to visit him. And they were in the restaurant eating, and he said, "See you in Hong Kong." And he kind of bowed his head, "Yeah, see you in Hong Kong." So when I arrived in Hong Kong, they took me around, and all I did was in a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce. Didn't get to walk on the streets. Finally, I went to this beautiful, beautiful tea house. And in China, they do things a little different than they do here. When I'm here and I was getting continuing professional education, it'd be all accountants or tax preparers or whatever around the table. There, they have like one merchant, one doctor, one stockholder. In other words, they have all the professions that meet at one table. And I kept asking him about what the name of the place was. And finally, he turned to me with his condescending look and said, "Well, they can't come here anyway. I don't know why you want to know the name." "Oh, it's passed down centuries through centuries." So, I mean, I wanted to crawl in my chair right then.
So a completely private tea house. You can't get in unless you actually know this man or able to work with him.
Yeah. And then I
Wow.
found out that he owns all the Chinese herbs. When I was back, well, Anne said, he has so much money, he can't spend it. His children can't spend it. His grandchildren can't spend it. But I meet these people because Hong Kong, at that time, they thought China might take it over when British gave it up, like they're having now. So they were buying property in the States, apartment buildings, strip shopping centers, and Canada and Australia. They were hedging their bets. So that's why I have all these clients from China. I guess I better explain that. Because they have to file what's called a non-resident, a 1040 non-resident return. Because the government sends out all this paper, mortgages, interest, and all that. So it was interesting to meet all these people through that type of thing.
And it was a different language. I mean, the things you're saying now, the average person has no idea. So you just made it easier and facilitated it, and so much so that They took you back and gave you a tour of the country. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I had clients all over the states too. They mailed in to me. My first exchange was an 18-leg exchange. I didn't know the first thing about exchanges, but all I said, a client came to me, and her husband's down the hall, and uh, she had sold a piece of property, and her mother. What happened? Her dad was a dirt farmer. He was a Swede, and so when he died, she didn't have any income coming in because she couldn't sell dirt. So her daughter sold one lot, and she came to me, and I looked at that, and I said, "You're going to pay 75% taxes on this 25,000." People don't realize that's what the tax was then. Who changed it? Ronald Reagan. It's 75%. I said, we got to find something for you that will bring you some income. So we exchanged, uh, uh, I'm trying to think of the name of town. It's really popular now, for Downers Grove, for a shopping center. And it had McDonald's and that sort of thing. Where now her mother's having income come in instead of a bunch of dirt. Well, some of the people wanted to buy 6 and 7 units if they're contractors. Other people wanted to buy 2 lots. I'm calling them units, but lots. So when we went to the table to negotiate, there were 18 of us around, and it became the exchange of the year. And it was written up in the Real Estate Today as an outstanding exchange of the year. And I'm telling you, that's the only one I'd ever done. I had all summer long to plan it and to work on it. And here I am just electing. I never will forget, on Easter Sunday, I had 5 or 6 exchanges stacked on the floor. I thought, you better get your head on this. You better figure this out for April the 15th. So sometimes you learn things the hard way, right? You hear about something, but then you learn it the hard way. And that was it. So from then on out, I prepared a lot of exchanges. And exchanges, you got to call like kind for like kind. They got to be producing for producing. You can't
How
just.
interesting.
Yeah.
A whole new world.
Well, I hope I'm not boring you with this whole new world.
No, it's fascinating, actually.
It's a fascinating world.
I'm going to ask you a question that I hear on one of my favorite podcasts. What percent do you think your success was driven by hard work, and what percent do you think was luck?
I would give maybe 20% luck at the max, because if you're lucky, you still have to know what you're doing. So it takes a lot of knowledge, it takes continuing knowledge, and it takes good work. And so you really
take advantage of the lucky opportunities.
Yeah, and also when you go into a business, you have to know that you can't start living off of it immediately. It's kind of like a baby. You have to let it grow. And I had enough money at the time when I opened my office to be able to do that. It didn't matter whether I had 1 client or 15 or 20. So I was comfortable. But you cannot open up a business like I did and expect or immediately start living off of it. It doesn't work that way. Even
that is fascinating.
I had a profession that people needed. And as I repeat myself, Manhattan Beach is a rather wealthy little town, and I was the only office there in Manhattan Beach, and they all like to take care of the home folk. And plus, I was close to TRW, Xerox, and all those other aerospace companies that were there at that time in El Segundo, Rockwell, and et cetera. So, yeah, I'm grateful for all that, and I wouldn't take anything for that wonderful experience. Sometimes I think I'm talking about some other lady.
I can't believe that's something you experienced yourself.
Yeah, it almost seems like a dream, and I could talk hours about some of the folks I've met and how their lives impacted and how I impacted theirs, and the conversations we had. And I'll tell you a funny one. I think this is kind of cute. I had this gentleman come in to me. He's from Texas. And he came in, I started talking with him. I like to get to know about with whom I'm working, like you're talking with people all the time. And I don't know how this subject came up, but he had a rental in Texas. And a little house he had purchased, getting rent off of it. And he said, I bought that on credit cards. I said, you did what? He said, well, yeah, it was easier than going through mortgages. I can pay the credit cards off sooner anyway. And I thought, yeah, that did work for him. And he also told me about his young son. And they would go out and collect bottles and cans or whatever they did. And I can't remember if it was once a week or whatever. They would go and they would put the cans and the bottles through the machine, get the money. And then he had the little young boy, he couldn't have been over 6 or 7 if he was that old. He had to put 10% back in the bank. And then he had a few pennies that he could go out and buy whatever he wanted to. So he was teaching him to save from a very early age. To save, not shave. I don't know. He probably shaved when he got older.
A few more
also.
years. A few more years for the shaving one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the type of thing I'm learned that people can buy. In Texas, it probably didn't cost over $200,000. You know.
I mean, you also took the time to get to know them and actually get those stories. I don't know if too many, maybe they do, but people that do taxes actually, get to know their clients on the level that you
Well,
did.
I also had 40 write-up clients. I had several businesses we were doing the books for.
Wow.
That's why I'd hired 2 full-time bookkeepers.
Well, Faye, you continue to fascinate me as usual. But I think I'd love to ask, if you had to think of a piece of advice that you might give, a young generation that might be
If I had
listening.
to what?
Give a piece of advice to a younger generation. What might be some advice you'd give to a younger generation?
Make sure that they like what they're in. And I'm repeating myself. If you like what you're doing, chances are other people will. But don't try to be a square peg in a round hole. And don't go to the university and take something in studies. There's all kinds of studies. Women study, I don't know. Because when you get out of there, all you have is debt and you have no job. Stay in the sciences or the health industry. But most of all, do what you like to do. I don't care. If you become a barber, you can make money at that. That's not, that's a good deal too. Plumbers. But I think that too much emphasis, for young people, I think too much emphasis has been on a college degree without thinking what that was going to be. Just get a college degree. It didn't open all the doors. Again, follow your heart. And I use a slogan, head, heart, and hand. Something you can put your hand on and enjoy, and what your heart tells you to do, and your head will take you there.
Wow. I love that one. That's wonderful.
Oh, I'm full of those homilies.
I heard one the other day you told me about the string. You can pull a string, something like pull a string as much as you can, but you can't push it.
All right.
Can you tell me that one? Say that one?
I don't know. That's just one of my things. I said, yeah, you can, I think you can work with people. And like I said, you can pull a string forever, but try pushing it and they're going to buck up against you. And it's not always easy, when they start that bucking. We got that going on right now in the United States. We don't need any of that head knocking.
Yes.
That's exactly what's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad, really it is.
Well, Faye, I've had such a pleasure talking to you, getting to know a little bit about you. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I know that you listen to podcasts. I send you videos on your phone. You're able to watch them. So I hope you enjoy this one when we get to watch it together. Oh,
I will. And thank you. I'll put it on my television. Remember how we can do that? How I go on my smart TV?
You actually get to talk to your TV, which is more than I can do. You just say what you want and the TV does it for you.
Well, now on the podcast, remember, I can listen to Joe Rogan or others. Will this be able to be the same way? Will I be able to?
Same way.
Okay.
I can't wait to try it.
So I'll watch myself and say, oh, did I really do that?
Well, thank you so much, Faye. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. I feel very honored you asked me.
My pleasure. The honor is mine. Thank you so much.